In 2016, there was a kid who was only 5'7" and 150 pounds, yet he was dominating high school basketball. He was just a freshman and he was already making high school seniors look silly out there. Let me repeat that. As a freshman, he wound up averaging 16 points per game and nearly 5 assists. Nobody really knew too much about him then. However, it didn't take too much longer before the whole world knew who he was. Fast forward in time 2 years later to his junior year, he was averaging nearly 30 points per game. It was also around the same time when he was officially listed as a 5-star recruit. To say he was the fan favorite and the hometown hero might be an understatement. We see 4 and 5-star recruits in high school, they've got a lot of clout and most of them got 20 or 30,000 followers. Don't get me wrong, having that many is a lot, but the guy we're going to talk about in this video had 500,000 in high school. The reason for that is fairly simple. He was easy to like. Obviously, he was good at basketball. He was the USA Today Player of the Year, the Max Preps Player of the Year, Mr. Georgia Basketball Player of the Year, and the Gatorade Player of the Year. Wow. What really separated him though, at least in my humbled opinion, and as to why so many people loved him, he was your humble star. Wasn't a big trash talker, didn't post a lot of crazy stuff on social media, he just went out there and got buckets. However, with all that being said, I want to say this in the correct manner. Ever since he's left high school, it hasn't gone the way he probably hoped it would. He's experienced a lot of bumps in the road recently, and it's gotta be new to him. All throughout his high school career for 4 years, he was the man and he couldn't do no wrong. Life after high school, I don't want to say it's been bad, but it hasn't been too sweet either. Out of everything that stopped him or got in his way, there was one costly mistake that he made himself that not only cost him millions of dollars, but maybe a shot at the NBA. He's still got a great chance of being a solidified player in the NBA, but if he wouldn't have made this mistake, it would have been a little easier. There's some questions being asked, and there's definitely some debatable topics. However, it all leads us back to the main question we're gonna try to figure out in this video. What really happened to Sharife Cooper? Whoa, hold on. On one of my previous videos, it was the Max Brown video to be more specific. I said, let's see how many new subscribers we can gain. I'll tell you in the next one. We gained over 580. 580 subs off of one video is insane. I want to give a major shout out to all the new subs, and I hope you enjoy the content. For all the people that have been watching, you know what I'm about to say. We play this game on the channel where I try to do it once a week. We try to see how many new subscribers we can gain from this video, and I'll tell you in one next week. So if you want to help our channel out, we're on the road to 200K. It'd be awesome if you join. If not, that's cool too. Hope you enjoy the video. Let's get into it. Man, oh man, good old Sharife Cooper. I haven't heard a single thing about this guy in what seems like forever. I was even thinking to myself the other day, what happened to him? I remember there was a point in time, and I'm sure some of you, if you've been watching the channel, you remember we were making a video on him once every 2 to 3 weeks. He was one of the most popping guys in the basketball community. He has sort of not fallen off, but he has went under the radar. That's not always a bad thing, but you do gotta admit it is kind of odd because Cooper, he's one of the most famous players out there. Or my bad. He was one of the most famous high school players of all time. To get into his story, we gotta talk about his high school days. Don't worry, I'm not gonna bore you and talk about it too much. I'm gonna run over the high points. Like I stated earlier in this video, he averaged right at 16 points per game and 5 assists. I don't even have to talk about that. As a freshman, if you play high school basketball and he did that at the varsity level, you know how crazy that is. Oh yeah, it's key to mention he was doing this for a Class A 7-8 school in Georgia. If you don't know what that means, they base these schools all the way from 1A to 7A, and 7A is kind of the biggest schools out there. To dumb it down even more, he was doing it against some of the best competition. The thing about Sharife Cooper and why I fell in love with his game is he got better and better every single season. He wasn't stagnant, and he wasn't one of those guys who peaked in high school. His freshman year, he averaged under 20 points. His sophomore year, he averaged right at 23, and by his junior year, he was averaging 28 points per game. Technically, my bad, his junior year, he averaged like 27, but I'm not getting all scientifical, and by his senior year, he averaged 30.6. It was something like that. When you look at his stats, you're like, holy crap, this dude is a beast, but if you saw him in person, you wouldn't think that. I don't mean it as disrespect. He was only 5'10" and 150 pounds in high school. Not exactly someone you look at and you're like, oh man, I'm scared of him and he's gonna drop 30 points on me. However, basketball is one of those sports where you can't judge a book by its cover. I've seen people who look like they can go out there and be the next next LeBron and I see him shoot a jump shot, I'm like, what in the crap was that? Vice versa. I've seen people that are overweight and you think they couldn't make a shot to save their life, and they got a shot like Steph Curry. I'm not saying you looked at Cooper like he was some unathletic guy that you could steal the ball from, you just didn't think he could do the things he did on the court. Let me put it in a better perspective. It's not every day you see a guy who's under 6 foot carrying one of the best teams in the state of Georgia to championships. I could go on and on and on and on about his high school days. You get the point. He was the man. By his junior or senior year, this is when he started getting a lot of recognition, and he was now listed as the 5th best point guard in the country and a 5-star recruit. Late in 2019, he officially announced that he was going to sign with Auburn. I remember that moment like it was yesterday. I can't believe it was 3 years ago. He could have went to any college he wanted to, but in my opinion, I thought Auburn was the best fit. I knew Bruce Pearl was going to let Sharife do what he wants, and he's going to let him run the show on offense, and that's exactly what happened. Whoa, hold on. It's not quite that simple. At Auburn, there were some controversies. Or maybe not controversies, but a controversy. Unfortunately, and this was stupid, he had to miss the first 12 games due to a NCAA investigation going on about his eligibility. There's literally nothing to talk about. They were investigating something that wasn't there. It had something to do with his dad because his dad was an agent and blah 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 blah. It's not even important to our story. If you remember what happened, you know it was just utterly ridiculous. I gotta be completely honest, I was shocked they even cleared him to play. I thought they were going to make him sit out the entire year. Fortunately enough, they did clear him to play for the 2020 through 21 season, where he appeared in 12 games. In those 12 games, check this out. He averaged a whopping 20 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 8 assists. As a true freshman, come on now, it can't get much better than that. Despite putting up those great numbers on paper, there was one, or not really one, but there was a couple of bad things about his game. He not only struggled to shoot the 3-ball, he even was struggling for mid-range. His field goal percentage for the entire year was only 39%, and from the 3-point line, it was as bad as it gets. He only shot 22.8%. You may love Sharife Cooper, you may be the biggest fan out there, but I don't know how you can even come up for an excuse and try to say that's even okay. The bottom line is, shooting under 25% as a point guard, it's not acceptable, and it's not going to get the job done. He didn't just have a shooting problem though, he also had a turnover problem, and it was bad at times. Yes, he averaged 8 assists, that's great. He countered that though with averaging 4.2 turnovers. He made a couple of plays here and there throughout some games where you just sit at the TV and shake your head and go, what are you doing? Out of everything though, I wasn't too concerned with the turnovers. He can clean that up. I think the biggest red flag in NBA scouts, they were scared of this the most, was the 3-point shooting. If you're an undersized point guard, what is one way you can make up for it, and maybe even the only way? You gotta be able to shoot the 3-ball. How did Steph Curry and Trae Young survive being undersized? They're one of the best 3-point shooters of all time. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention the third thing that was hurting him at Auburn too. He was a liability on defense. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to be small, you're going to have a lot of weaknesses, and to counter that, you got to be able to shoot the rock. Sadly, at the college level at least, he proved he wasn't that great of a shooter. There was even times where teams were blatantly disrespecting him and letting him shoot. I still think he had a really good freshman season. It was right at borderline great, but the shooting percentages might just make it good. Everyone pretty much knew, or they had the idea, that he was going to go to the NBA draft. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where our story takes a drastic turn for the worse. Right when he declared for the draft, there was speculation that he could be a lottery pick and he was going to be a for sure first rounder. However, as time started to pass and the draft got closer and closer, he was falling out of that first round range. The speculation was that he's going to be a late first round pick or an early second round pick. Well, what do you know? The draft comes up and he was neither of those, and he barely got drafted. He was selected late in the second round with the 48th overall pick by the Atlanta Hawks. A lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, were shocked by this because they're like, yo, he was one of the best players in college. Why did he fall so far? To me, it was obvious. Like I said, he struggled to shoot the 3-ball, he's a liability on defense, and he had a turnover problem in college. There was a lot of red flags, and he's also undersized. It's all coming back to me now. We made a video on him around this same time a year ago, and I tried telling all of you that he's not going to play for the Hawks. Every single one of you was calling me crazy and saying I'm hating on him, he's going to be a star, and yeah, I don't want to say I was right, but it's looking like I was right. I stated this over a year ago. I said maybe in 3 to 4 years he could be a good role player, but that's the best he's going to be. Why did I state that? Because number one, it's because the Atlanta Hawks drafted him and he's not going to play over Trae Young. I never understood the argument where some people are trying to say he's going to have valuable minutes for the Hawks. That's just simply not going to happen. Trae Young is going to play nearly every single minute of the game. Currently, as to when I'm speaking though, he's not even playing for the Hawks, he's on their G League team. He's only appeared in 11 games for the Hawks where they did call him up and he's barely playing then. In those 11 games, he's averaging a measly 3.2 minutes per game. That's nothing at all. From the overall field, he's shooting 21%, and from the three-point line, he's shooting 16.7%. I'm not going to criticize him too much. He's barely playing, so that is a very small sample size. If you are curious though, he's also averaging 0.6 points per game, 0.5 rebounds, and 0.5 assists. Life definitely hits you fast. 3 to 4 years ago, he was the man at his high school, averaging over 30 points per game, and now for the Atlanta Hawks, he's averaging 0.6 points per game. Not even 3 years ago, but only a year ago for Auburn, he was averaging 20 points per game. But check this out. A couple of nights ago, Sharife Cooper had 42 points, shot 14 for 19 from the field, shot 7 for 9 on three-pointers, had 5 assists and 4 steals. Unreal stat line, unreal game. That is the most efficient I've ever seen him shoot at the high school or college or the G League level. The only downside to the performance is that one, nobody's really talking about it because it was in the G League. It has raised and brought up the question though, why isn't he playing for the Hawks? If he's doing this good at the G League, there's gotta be a spot for him in the NBA, right? I myself would agree with that statement 100%. From day one, I just never understood him and the Atlanta Hawks. I don't see it working out because of Trae Young. Sharife Cooper is a ball-dominant point guard. And what's Trae Young? A ball-dominant point guard. It's not going to go well together. I did some digging and research, and the Atlanta Hawks actually have an open roster spot, so why isn't he being called up? Well, the head coach has stated multiple times, quote unquote, that he likes his 9-man rotation. For those of you saying why can't Cooper be a 6-man, well, currently behind Trae Young at the 1 spot, they have Lou Williams, Skylar Mays, and DeLon Wright. It's not just Cooper who's getting not mistreated but misused by the Hawks. It's also their other, not freshman, but their other rookie, Jalen Johnson. They don't even use Jalen Johnson much, and he was a high draft pick. Let's take a look at Sharife's G League stats. That's where he's played the most, and that's where he spent most of his time. I'll let you guys be the judge of it. Let me know in the comments section. Should he be traded and be in the NBA right now? Well, let me know. His numbers speak for themselves just like they did at the college and high school level. In the G League, he is averaging 16.9 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists. Most impressive though, and it's my favorite stat, he is shooting 39% from the three-point line. That right there is the missing part about his game that we've been wanting to see and NBA scouts have been wanting to see. If Cooper's going to be undersized, small point guard, whatever, you get it, blah, 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 he's got to be able to shoot the 3-ball. Bottom line. I understand it. I get it 100%. It is the G League, but the dude's getting it done. He is averaging those 7 assists. Turnovers are still somewhat an issue. He's averaging 4. Look, I'm not saying he's got to only average 1 turnover per game, but averaging 4, that's kind of high. I would like to see him cut the turnovers down. It doesn't even have to be under 3, but right at 3 or 3.1. That's fair enough. Here's my biggest thing. He can go off in the G League and play great, and at best, the Atlanta Hawks are going to call him up just to sit the bench and maybe play him 2 to 3 minutes per game. 1, I don't think that's fair to Cooper, and I don't think he wants to do that. And 2, why would the Hawks want to do that anyways? Me personally, if I'm Cooper, I'd be asking the Atlanta Hawks to trade me to some team that could use me. I think we can all agree there is definitely a team out there that could use a player like Cooper. Let's be real though. Is he a guy that's going to go out there and average those 17 points per game he's averaging in the G League in the NBA? No, absolutely not. At best, I've said this from day one, I'm going to stick to it, he will be a role player in the NBA. There's nothing wrong with being a role player, but he's not going to be like a Trae Young or anybody in that category. I hope that happens for him. I hope he turns out to be an MVP. I just don't see it happening. Whoa, hold on. We gotta talk about one of the most important things. We haven't talked about the mistake he made. And that mistake I'm referring to is him leaving Auburn before he really should have. If he would have returned to Auburn in this previous year with all those great players and pieces they had, I think Auburn would have won the NCAA championship, and he would have improved his draft stock to maybe a lottery pick. He would have had one more year of college under him, he would have improved his game and improved everything about him for them scouts to like. I don't want to overcomplicate this. If he would have returned to Auburn, it would have been better for him. I believe he had a lot of people in his ears that were telling him false information, and it wound up hurting him. He decided to take a risk and go to the NBA and test on those waters a little too early. Whereas if he comes back, he's a for sure first round pick, and like I said, maybe a lottery pick. Also, for those of you that don't know, if you get drafted in the lottery or the first round, that is way more money you're getting from being drafted 48th. And then too, you also got to take into account he would have been on a better team in a better situation. I would say he took a risk by going to the NBA early. Yeah, he got drafted, but it hasn't really worked out well. Let me know your thoughts on all this down below. But with all that being said, that's going to wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace.